galactic history, the Akashic Records. What are the Akashic Records? The Akashic Records are a dimension of consciousness that contains a vibrational record of every soul and its journey. This vibrational body of consciousness exists everywhere in its entirety and is completely available at all times and in all places. As such, the records are an experiential body of knowledge that contains everything that every soul has ever thought, said, and done over the course of its existence, as well as all its future possibilities. Akashic is an Eastern term which, according to Thoth, refers to the planetary recorder cell, where thought, feeling, and occurrences throughout all time in the planet's history are stored as a record of knowledge within the subtle etheric substance of the planet. However, the nature of the Akashic Records is much more complex and far-reaching than might be imagined, according to Tahuti, whom we also know as Thoth, and who holds the title of being the great Akashic scribe. He tells us that the Akashic is an etheric, subtle energy region arranged into bandings which are concentric shells within and around the Earth. These Akashic energy bands or shells have a very high resonance with the God source emanating from within the human element. The electromagnetic and gravitational force fields of the planet are the media upon which these energy bands are able to record information, also providing stability to their structure. These energy bands are formed through the interaction of two distinct dynamics, which then form a third that becomes the final qualification for the planetary Akashic Records. The first two dynamics are one, the divinity within human souls, and two, the planetary soul. The planetary soul is the living essence of the planet, the heart of Gaia. These two dynamics interact to form the world soul, which the Lemurians called the Sheela. Thus, the world soul is formed via the combined light of the souls present within the planetary experience in interaction and combination with the planetary soul. So it is the world soul, which is then the basic format for the Akashic Records held in the concentric energy bands previously mentioned. As they vibrate with the dynamic of the world soul, fields of resonance with the God source are created within their parameters. These Akashic energy bands interlink to form three-dimensional geometric patterns. These patterns then comprise the recording crystals within the recorder cell or Akashic of Earth. Thoth tells us that the most basic of these patterns is called the Akasha and is actually a single crystal. The Akasha is in the shape of a dodecahedron. Upon each face of the Akasha dodecahedron, the thought forms of the world soul create etheric ripples. The type of thought within these ripples determines where it records its impression upon the crystal and upon which face of the crystal it is to be recorded. Each recording crystal is receptive to receiving the impressions of specific types of thought forms. Just which ones is determined primarily by the degree and quality of the illumination contained within the thought. This is the manner in which the thought forms containing the knowledge, perception, and wisdom, as well as the illusion of the ages of Earth, are catalogued into the library of the recorder cell of the planet. Within the main library of Earth's Akasha, there are two major levels. There are the higher or greater Akashic and the lower or lesser Akashic records. In the lesser Akashic, every thought, feeling, and expression of consciousness expressed upon the Earth is recorded and compiled according to the intensity level they find within the souls of Earth who produce them. In other words, whatever is continually fed by the power of mind and emotion in humanity builds a field of increasing intensity within the lesser Akashic. There are ancient texts that state the living Thoth Hermes was the author of some 3,000 books. We must consider that this master soul was upon the Earth twice, where he used the name Thoth. In the first experience, he came to Earth as Thoth, a being from Orion who lived 5,783 years on this planet in that embodiment. He returned later in the planet's history as the Earth-incarnated Thoth of Afra, who was born in Tibet and lived 300 years. Certainly in all that time, he could have easily written 3,000 books. Thoth's repository is singular in its form and operation in that his many and voluminous light-inscripted Akashic texts vibrate with the hologram of the whole greater Akashic initialized within the very crystals that contain his recordings. In other words, Thoth's repository of knowledge contains all knowledge inherent within the greater Akashic as part of its own form, but yet is not limited to that base of knowledge. In this way, his texts are still a part of the whole synergism of the greater Akashic, but the mountain comes to his repository rather than the information within the repository having to move outside its own context in order to connect to the whole. This does not infer that Enoch's or Melchizedek's repositories are inferior to Thoth's, but that the nature of their work is different. Indeed, it is the nature of Thoth's place in the higher planetary hierarchy that creates the uniqueness of his presence as a master being, an archetype, and a keeper of the records.